So a big welcome to everyone. I'm Jenny Stanley, founder and managing director at Appetite Creative, and I'm really excited to have everyone here today, and a huge welcome to those joining us now on what is our 7th webinar. Some admin pieces, you may have already heard it, but this will absolutely be recorded. You'll be able to get this on our YouTube channel and also on our podcast, which is called The Talking Giraffe. This is really open for QA, so please feel to write any questions in the QA box that you can see in your Zoom control panel, and we'll be asking our guests today your questions. Unfortunately, Christine Anderson, Global Communication Lead of Novo Nordisk, is unable to join us today for personal reasons. COVID is affecting everyone directly and indirectly, so she really does share her apologies that she can't be with us today. The series of webinars we started back in March, April time really aims to lift the lid on how different industries have been overcoming and rising to the challenges and opportunities brought to us by the pandemic. COVID-19 has really become part of our lives for the last half year, and all industries have had to adapt to the new normal and come up with new solutions to the challenges that COVID-19 has brought about. In this ever-changing world, we can see new announcements coming out every day that impact us and actually give us more information around the longevity that these changes are actually going to affect us. And only this week, we had the announcement that the EFC has cancelled their face-to-face element. So we can be pretty confident that there will be no conferences of that size, at least until August next year. With this impact, there's so many different things that have had to change. Sales strategies have had to change. Face-to-face meetings are declining and in most cases wiped out with confinement. PR and communication plans need to be reassessed. Realignment of activities and events. Face-to-face is something which we have so relied on as part of our day-to-day strategy. But now digital is pushed to the forefront like never before. So today we're going to dig a little bit deeper and to discover how these experts with us today have been adapting and rising to the challenge. The webinar will be split into 2 different parts. Firstly, I'll be joined by Dani Jimenez-Herranaz. Dani has been leading the global digital strategy over the past 18 months for Bayer, and Guillermo Macaron, who is a EMEA Solutions Business Manager at Johnson & Johnson, who's based where I am today in Madrid. So we're going to look at how global digital strategies have been rolled out and how sales teams are adapting to this new normal and how they've been trying to improve their communication. After that, I will be then joined on the virtual stage by John Campbell, Sales Manager at Spark for Remote Engagement at Allergan. And we're going to be looking at the huge change that business has created by looking at putting together a large community that engaged HCPs and healthcare experts, which breaks the traditional hierarchical approach and has managed to increase 5-fold their virtual appointments being booked. So we want to really understand a lot more about that. So first things first, to the most 2 difficult names for today's webinar, to Dani and Guillermo. Thanks a lot for being with us here today. It's a great pleasure, obviously, to have you. And I guess the most important thing, are you guys working from home today, or are you working from an office? Dani, it looks like you're at home.
Exactly. I'm at home, Jenny. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. And I'm so glad to be here today. Thanks very much.
No problem at all. Guillermo, are you at home or are you in the office today?
At home. I'm working there from the last 6 months, almost since March.
Wow. Okay. And you know, I think that's the same as most of our people in the audience as well. A lot of people are saying at home. Oh, we have some people from the office as well. So obviously, you know, I've talked a little bit about some of the differences, some of the changes that have had to be made. Dani, you're tasked with helping to find what makes a real difference to customers and finding a way to respond to that. How has that changed for you over the last few months? Dani? We have lost Danny. Guillermo, what about yourself? How have things been changing for you over the last few months?
I mean, there were very disruptive change in March, and there is a lot of change that were coming, and especially how we adapt to that disruption. I was saying in all sense, so from externally, on how we now connect and talk and have discussion with our customers, and even how we connect with our community of patients, but also internally, how we work together, how we also connect internally. So all that have changed very rapidly. Also demand and request the team and also the here in J&J to really progress and to provide some solutions. So we are very pulling, especially from IT, our partners, to how we get solution in place in a very short time.
Yeah, definitely. Danny, are you with us now?
Yes, sorry, apologies by that. I mean, working from home had these kind of things, so I'm back. Hopefully you can see me.
No worries, and it proves we're live. So Danny, tell us, what about the things that have changed from your side? What's been going on in your world?
Well, actually, I mean, for me, that I'm currently in charge of managing global projects within Bayer. As you can imagine, one of my main responsibilities is to really be connected with the different regions and the key stakeholders of those regions. And when implementing a project like this kind of things, you need to be really aware of the kind of things that people might need on the specific regions, countries, clusters somehow. So the interconnection with them is quite critical. And the way that we in the past were able to do that has changed dramatically. So it was a huge difference for me since March still about the way we were approaching the projects, how we are really managing stakeholders' expectation, how we are managing requests, how we are dealing with the uncertainty that we have ahead of us, also within the stakeholders. So I must say that we have been really creative on the way we were approaching our projects right now, and it will have to be the new norm. So we'll have to follow these kind of things because we have pros, we have cons, but definitely it's a learning curve that we are all trying to adapt in here.
And you mentioned about having a global team, so that obviously means that you're generally talking to different teams who are in different countries. So would your first port of call been to jump on a plane to have met with those teams, or would you have already done virtual?
No, exactly. That is true. I mean, probably if you look at it with our current eyes, you see that's not efficient at all, which is absolutely true. I mean, the first thing is that, okay, we need to go to Latin America and we need to start with Mexico. Okay, let's put all in a plane, go to Mexico from the global teams, try to spend 1 week working with them, having like 20 people in the same room, trying to get as much as we can out of them, and then we will go back to our office. We try to work alone, and then we deliver something to them, which, to be honest, I mean, that's not agile, that's not efficient, and now we've seen that there's other opportunities. So again, if I look at the way this COVID situation is helping us, is to really manage the organizational change in a way that this is going to be an eye-opener for all of us, in a way how we can tackle these kind of projects, how we can deal with our customers, with our stakeholders at some point as well, how we can be more efficient on every interaction, how we can better communicate with them, because communication is given a key thing for us in this kind of journey. We have to learn how to communicate with their stakeholders to really deliver specific message, assertive message, but at the same time, make sure that we are aligned with them. So it's been a huge learning curve for us. We're still learning. There's been pros, but also we still have to manage strong cons on that, because the uncertainty is killing us. And I think that this is not only for us, but I do see a lot of benefit of this kind of new normal and the way we are approaching these kind of projects, to be honest.
And do you think that there were maybe some countries, I mean, if your go-to was to jump on a plane and go and see those teams, have you found that some countries have been more able to understand the virtual and you're able to have that communication, and maybe some other countries have not been able to work or make that adjustment as quickly as others? Do you see a difference there?
Yeah, there's a huge difference as well. And again, I mean, it's not just jumping on a plane and go there. There's a preparation work that has to be done. We did it in the past and we're doing it right now. But what I'm trying to say is that we've been much more efficient. We're putting a lot of pressure on ourselves to ensure that we have the right information to move forward. And maybe in the past, we have like the backup plan on if you don't get it that online, the pre-work probably, you're gonna be face-to-face with the team, so you're gonna be able to get all that. Right now, that's not an option. So you need to be really prepared. We need to be really structured. You need to be really organized. And that's the kind of thing that we're getting. We are definitely seeing difference between countries and also regions in the way they approach projects like this. We do see difference also on the talent that we have all over the globe. So you see, like when you talk about capabilities or when you talk about capacity, when you go to a region like North America, it's absolutely different than you go to an APAC, for example. It's a different world over there. So you need to balance expectation and you need to balance the kind of approach that you're going to be giving to each one of them. Obviously, as part of a global team and a global project execution point of view, we need to be global. That means that we need to follow the same kind of pattern, the same kind of path on that, but somehow flexibility within this new normal is going to be critical for us, or it is critical for us as of today as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also just in terms of being able to get everybody on board, right? I mean, some countries have a higher level of digital knowledge. You know, did you find that there were some countries with higher digital knowledges that were able to grasp things quicker, or, you know, did you see any differences there?
Yes, I mean, at the end, as I was saying, it's about the capabilities that they have and the capacity that the team might have. So definitely, what we try to really is to ensure that we have the same level of expectation and the same level of knowledge for the specific project. So the project that I've been managing is more like the CRM global projects. So somehow we had to be really specific about what was the why behind the project and why we are running a project like this and why we are implementing that and what's going to be the benefit that we're going to get from that. So it's not only about the knowledge about the digital capabilities, it's also about the why behind the project. We really have to take a strongly personal approach in here, trying to really ensure and deliver what's going to be the value for the end user in project like this. This is no longer going to be an IT conversation or a technology conversation only. It's going to be a people conversation where we have to drive the change, and that's the intention that we have in a project like this.
No, absolutely. It makes perfect sense, and the ability to be more efficient because you've got to plan it differently. So you've got to look at things from a different way. Guillermo, do you see the same? You know, are you now looking at things in a totally different way?
Yeah, sure. We have something that they are changing. Also, as Danny said, we are also changing a lot of the way of communication internally and externally. So something we improved on the last month, the way we can better connect with our teams, especially in regional and global positions that we are having. So this is something that we have added in our portfolio of way of communication, as we are now not allowed, I would say, to be more face-to-face. But there are many other opportunities, I would say, and benefits that are coming from that.
Okay, absolutely. You know, we've got a question in from our Facebook audience, which is fantastic. Here's their question. There have been many new challenges for the healthcare industry this year due to the pandemic. It would be very interesting to know what you think might be the greatest challenge for the healthcare industry in the next couple of years.
Let me take that first, maybe. So I feel that just trying to think about the customer engagement point of view, how we're going to be really engaging and connecting with customers, and how is going to be our commercial policies as well. What has to change? What kind of tools and the kind of information that we're going to be able to give to our salespeople. I think that the current situation is going to speed up all those plans. Again, it's about how we can really accelerate the digital transformation of our companies to be able to provide the right information to our commercial people to deliver their jobs in a more effective way. And again, this situation has to really accelerate the approach that we're taking in here, companies like mine.
Absolutely. Guillermo, have you got anything to add to that question, or?
Yeah, I think that it's also related to that is everything regarding to trust, also in terms of this digital, in terms of the new solutions that are coming, and all related to what is coming from or linked to security, privacy, when we are using not only in communication, but also in the digital solution affecting patients, or information for patient and information from HCPs. So all this related to trust to the systems, to the privacy and security will be also I would say a challenge, and on the other side an opportunity to work and to improve on that. Yeah,
absolutely. We've got another question in from Tim. I'm not sure again to which panelist it's to, so perhaps you can shout at me. Tim says, thanks for the question, Tim. Have you looked at home nursing for clinical trials or patient support programs? We at Ren Healthcare have an 80% increase in work because we are nurse-led in-home clinical trial company. We've found it easier for utilising the virtual world for meetings and patient support from companies all over the world. I'm not sure.
If I can take it, Jennifer, this is something in general we're working, and we see the high spike, I would say, in terms of telemonitoring, not only from trials or clinical trials, but for patients that they are in long-term treatment. So we are working within J&J in treatment of obesity, cancer. So this is something that is already in place. So this is something we already implemented, and this is something that will be more and more spread across the different countries. There are countries that are more eager to do this implementation, have the mindset to jump in. Others they are more probably I would say tied to their regulations or to any other kind of limitations. But we see that there are more and more this technology coming, and in order to help all the care teams in either they are providing care to the patient, or whether they are part of the trials or clinical trials.
Fantastic. Tim says thank you. So that's great. Thank you very much, and keep them coming. Guillermo, you mentioned mindset. You know, whoever has the mindset to jump in, and I think that's a really good point. Would you say the biggest challenge around this is mindset?
I believe mindset is one of the first challenge. I would say mindset regarding also to the culture of the country. And when I say culture, is the way they are more eager in order to be innovative, or on the other hand, when they are more conservative. Also, when they are discussing even in the same country, I will say regarding the public and the private. So public have certain constraints where private they are probably more eager and have more margin to innovate and to purchase solutions that are outside the normal portfolio. So for example, we have a great success and with private hospital providing and implementing this type of digital solution. On the other hand, for public is like also moving, but it's more lengthy and slow, and they have many type of regulation or limitation terms of their tender. So I say mindset is first, but also there are other factors as I mentioned in terms of culture, in terms of regulation and other type of limitation that they have.
Sure, absolutely. I think just mindset of kind of embracing the digital world. The webinar we did last month was really talking about recruitment. But interestingly, there was a poll which said that candidates didn't want to be interviewed in a virtual space, and actually 95% of people actually turned that on its head. And when they went out to poll, actually the situation is we might think that, but candidates are actually very, very happy to be interviewed in a virtual world. Do you see some of that? Are there kind of some myths around digital, Guillermo? Do you think that there's some changes to us actually accepting digital?
Yeah, I can tell you from patient perspective is something we see that increasing demand. So not only I would say from COVID that are now is reducing the I would say what we call the touch point and the moment of the patient pathway. So the moment they need to be interacting with the care team face to face. So this is also reducing, but they see that now there is a new way of interaction with their care team. Some of the cases, most of the cases, more efficient because in many cases they're reducing the time, the traveling time. So we are probably used to see here in Europe. They just take the metro, take your car to go to the doctor. In other cases, we see in emerging markets, Middle East, is taking alone. It's taking a couple of days traveling to the big city from rural areas, meet the doctor, and then come back. And then if you need to do this couple of times, is not very efficient and also high time consuming for the patient. So we see that there's a lot of benefits in many areas for patients, and also there's a lot of benefits from ACPs where they can be more healthcare professionals when they can also interact in a more virtual way. They can do it more efficient and monitor their patients in a better way, have a better visibility of how they are progressing, even if they don't see face to face.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that also comes back to efficiency, you know, talking about getting in your car, maybe sitting in half an hour for traffic, finding parking, all of that, you know, stress actually gets removed from the patient side as well. So that's really talking about efficiency as well. Danny, you talked about efficiency. Are there any other kind of benefits or opportunities that you've seen, having, you know, been working in a digital framework now for the last 6-7 months?
Well, I feel that, as I was mentioning before, is on the communication skills that we need to have internally and externally. Also, as Guillermo was saying, we need to really be real expert on how we're going to be managing the communication and the people expectation to ensure that we're going to be able to accomplish what we were supposed to accomplish in a face-to-face meeting or in a face-to-face interaction with our clients. So we need to specialize on that, and it is an opportunity to do so. I feel that, at least on my own experience, that our meetings are much more effective, are much more short as well. Mm-hmm. And that's a path that, I mean, in our day-to-day basis, probably, I mean, I'm usually back-to-back every day. So I start at 9 a.m., I finish 6 p.m., and it's back-to-back the whole time. So we had to change this reality based on the current situation, because we cannot be from 9 to 6 in front of the laptop, like working like this. So we had to be more efficient, and this is helping us and giving us the path to change on that. I'm not saying that this is the reason why, but definitely it's helping us to drive that kind of mindset change that Guillermo was saying, not only on the way we do business, but also at the same time, the way we operate as a business.
Definitely. I mean, there's so many different things that I think people haven't really thought about could be affected, you know, Zoom fatigue being one of those, which I think is what you're kind of perhaps talking about, you know, being stuck to your laptop 9 till 6. You know, Guillermo, what do you think about that? You know, how do you see the landscape moving forward?
Well, as I mentioned, that's a shift in the demand. So before COVID, I think we were working on all related with digital health, e-health, telemedicine, and there were certain level of demand, I will say, but now they were higher. And I see that shift due to COVID, that there is increasing, and there is especially acceptance and demand coming from customers on digital solution and to implement that solution on their lives. Also, I see a change in the healthcare system. So they are looking for implementing solutions or means to be more efficient in order to provide a better patient experience, but also a better experience for their care teams and their staff, in the way to manage a large number of patients in distance with the same or less resources, but also providing or being able to provide same or even higher quality for the patient. So also see that increase, or I would say more consolidation from technology perspective, consolidation of the current technology we have in terms of apps, wearables, so something that we have, or everyone have it in terms of Apple Watch. There are more and more in our lives. Yeah. But it would be more and more raise of new emerging technology that can be applied, like artificial intelligence, machine learning, or blockchain, that will be applied on healthcare in a very short time, a couple of years, I would say. And there will be more disruptive solution that will be ready due to COVID and that change on the mindset and change on the demand.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's really interesting what you talk about wearables. We've just had a question in from the audience as well, actually, from the QA. Do you foresee, therefore, that this will be a permanent change and transform the healthcare landscape in a positive way? So will it be permanent, and is it positive?
I would think will be permanent in terms of there will be coexistence. Today is, I would say, the face-to-face is really reduced due to COVID. I think when we pass that period of time, will be increased again. But I think that will be coexisting both the face-to-face when you're interacting with your healthcare professionals. But I think there will be also a high level of interaction in terms of digitally. In many cases, that will reduce, I would say, the pain points on the process in terms of reduce all this movement when it is not needed. So I think that will be coexisting. In terms of positive, I'm pretty sure, and we see feedback from customer and patients and hospital, they are saying that how positive that they are in terms of getting this interaction. And also better in terms of to get more better communicate, and for patients to be more engaged on the process that they have through this digital interaction and digital solutions, get more better educated and more engaged to the process, the treatment.
Sure, absolutely, involvement in all situations there as well. Danny, question from Facebook audience. When do you think online sessions or diagnosis with healthcare professionals, although maybe this is better for you, Guillermo, but whichever, I'll let you jump in. Well, the question is, when do you think online sessions, diagnosis with healthcare professionals and doctors will become standard? Could this change the industry forever?
I would let Guillermo to answer that, but I just wanted to point one more thing on his previous response, actually. And
Sure.
I feel that we really need to understand the situation that we are living, and we need to take the benefits out of it. How that's going to be the new standard, or it's going to be a combination of what I fully agree with what Guillermo has said. We need to take the positives and to apply into the new normal, but at the same time, we need to take the benefits of what we were doing in the past. So the beauty is going to be on the combination of that. And that also aligns with the question that we have now from Facebook. I feel that this is a great opportunity for a test and learn approach. I think that most of the company will be trying to run this kind of exercise for a while, and now we have the opportunity to accelerate that. So again, if we're moving into a digital world, test and learn should be should be common, and we should learn from that. When it's going to be the standard, I can give you an answer on that, but definitely this new situation is going to help us to really speed up things, as I was saying before, and at the same time to be normal to try these kind of initiatives. So now over to you, Guillermo. Maybe you have a more accurate answer.
Fully agree with what you said, that this is not I will say that disappear towards the previous standards and coming the new ones. It just is coexisting. This is taking the positive that we have from that the digital solutions can bring, or in this case the teleconsultation can bring. But in many cases, most of the cases, you need to have this face-to-face interaction with your healthcare professional. So that will be a coexisting, and then in many cases, digital will add many value, and there's especially in the monitoring area, in order to keep informed the healthcare professionals during the treatment. But in others, for the patients, sometimes you need to go on to have this face-to-face, especially checks that you need to do, blood tests, and all this type of things that you need to do face-to-face. So I would say that this is not fully changed in terms of the coming to the digital 100%. There will be a hybrid situation that we have mixed or coexisting both of them.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think for sure it's really brought to light some opportunities for better efficiency, new ways to look at things, open mindsets. And I think a hybrid approach, perhaps of all these things, actually really gives us the best blend to be able to answer some of these new challenges and just change the way we're working. Thanks so much, Guillermo. Thank you so much, Danny. Really, really great insights, and had some great fun chatting with you. So I think you've definitely given us some food for thought on how we're, looking at being efficient, and looking at being able to change that mindset, as you said, is sometimes, or most of the time, the first challenge. So thanks again. Thank you. And so now we move to the second part of the webinar, and I'm going to be joined by John Campbell. He is really the cornerstone of the remote engagement, Spark, as it is called. So John, it'd be fantastic to hear it a little bit from yourself, obviously. Let's see if we can get you on screen. That would be a great start. And if we can really understand a little bit around the initiative itself. Tell us about it. You know, you've got a fantastic story. How did it all start?
Absolutely. Well, what Spark is now is really kind of a medical aesthetics community for HCPs, who we define as doctor, dentists, and nurses. But it really started in 2019, actually. There's a bit of a project. As we were moving really to key account management for our field-based teams, it kind of was, the question was kind of asked, what happens to the other accounts who aren't being key account managed? So it really started off as a resource management tool to help facilitate that move. The end of 2019, we were actually really starting to add value to a lot of the customers and moving away from this kind of sending out promotional material, that kind of thing. So the real shift was really around COVID, which we'll cover off in a little bit. But I think what we're really trying to solve is that when HCPs join the medical aesthetics market, they often feel quite alone and isolated in the market, and they're often information seekers. And we're getting quite a bit of bad reputation because we weren't necessarily able to cope with the number of HCPs making inquiries with us. And a lot of the field team had the accesses to the tools, such as medical education, information on our products. So that's what we were trying to really solve through Spark, was actually facilitation or away from field-based to digital in 2019. But what really changed, I guess, is moving more towards forming a community.
Okay. And you talked about the fact that you're moving into this community engagement program, but COVID obviously got in the way, as it gets in the way of everything. So how did the project change then once COVID got involved?
Actually, the concept of the community actually came through the interactions from COVID, really, because I think when we were looking in 2019, we were certainly focused around our support being from an Allergan business consultant or an Allergan clinical specialist to provide a lot of the content. But what kind of changed was our mindset, and we've heard from the two other guests around mindset as well. And sometimes it's not being about being in the right place at the right time, it's the right mindset at the right time. And I think that for us gave us an opportunity to reflect on the feedback and the surveys that we've done. And clinical or digital business mentoring kept on coming up as a key request. And the question was, how do you facilitate mentoring when we have so many thousands of customers? And this really kind of where it sort of developed from maybe someone with 1 year's experience can really mentor someone coming brand new into the market, or someone who's got 3 to 5 years has a lot of insights and they're able to share that to the wider community. So what COVID did was stopped us trying to create our own content and kind of ask the community to share articles, stuff they're just really passionate about. And so that was the mindset shift that we had during COVID, because yeah, that's kind of what I would probably say.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's some really good points there. I mean, the first thing I want to talk about a little bit out of that is really about the survey. You said you carried out some surveys. You carried out a survey around social media and HCPs.
Yeah, absolutely. We regularly survey the sort of community to see what insights they want. And particularly around COVID, we had a lot of our focus was on face-to-face events, product evenings. We had an exhibition in the office. So it's kind of like, well, how would you want us to communicate? And 90% came back saying through social media. We were quite in a fortunate position because we did actually have consumer-facing platforms already. So we had a lot of the SOPs in place, the sort of people with the right mindset to be able to help us deliver. So it's kind of quite funny. We really started our own post with Canva and other sort of digital platforms to create our own post. And I think it was the test and learn piece that Danny kind of mentioned. I think, yeah, we've got to start somewhere. And what we really found was the most engaging pieces were around my story. So other healthcare professionals sharing their career journey that they've had within medical aesthetics, but also the things they're really passionate about. What was the moment that they decided medical aesthetics was for them? But also what mistakes they made and learned from. So for us, social media is a really good platform as part of our omni-channel marketing approach, which includes print, social media, emails, face-to-face events, virtual events, and our promotional website, which has a lot of the product educational side of things, but also our medical educational side, which is separate. So it fits into that. And a lot of our customers have different journeys with us based on what their requirements are and what they need.
So you talked about the fact that you kind of moved from creating your own content for your community and actually let the community create their own, which sounds great. But in the healthcare, pharma industries, there's a lot of compliance. This is a highly regulated industry. So how are you ensuring you're keeping within the boundaries?
You make it sound like we're not being compliant, but absolutely, compliance is compliance is a hugely important part of what we do. Compliance, regulatory, and legal as well. So I think some of the concerns is, oh, what if someone posts a bad comment? What if someone posts an adverse event kind of thing? We have procedures and policies in place to be able to deliver that. Where the real value of whether we do social media or one of our events, which is called Spark Talks, was actually they stay away from any product reference. So they're talking more holistically around the industry and other sort of topics, which is fine. A lot of any information which is obviously compliantly reviewed and checked is behind a closed environment, but anything front facing is top line. So
yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic idea. I loved about the your kind of live event where you engaged the community and they actually voted on what the content was going to be and who were going to be the speakers. Tell us about that, because I thought that was brilliant. Yeah,
it's take a little bit of a take on TEDx, if I'm honest, but it was around Spark Talks. It was during COVID time as well. It's an idea we had pre-COVID, but actually it came kind of better when we looked at it through the COVID situation, because we were seeing a lot of I call it hierarchical webinars. So obviously an expert delivering medical education out to the audience. And what we really wanted to do was kind of mix it up a little bit and actually say to the community, here's your opportunity to contribute to your own webinar. And actually vote on the topics that you want to see. Because I think when we were like, oh, we need to do webinars kind of situation, it was like all of it was kind of our opinion. So yeah, we actually asked the community to submit topics that they were particularly passionate about. Again, staying away from product and something a little bit more around sort of business or experiences and clinical topics. So we had 47 HCP submit topic entries. We shortlisted that with legal compliance and regulatory. To come up with 17, and we asked the community to vote on which one of the final 7 they wanted to see live at a webinar. So again, I guess what was really nice is we saw topics from photography, the importance of lighting within social media. Saying no to a patient within medical aesthetics is also a really important part of it as well. Patient experience, from the moment they pick up the phone to the clinic, what kind of things can you do to build up your business or improve the patient experience? Because there's a lot of myths around medical aesthetics, but also one of them was also around regulation. Is there parts we can better regulate the medical aesthetics market? So these were the topics that they wanted to watch. So that's what they got.
Interesting, love it, absolutely love it. QA, question from the audience. Is the Allergan Spark network only for the UK and Ireland, or do you have plans to expand into further countries across Europe?
We do. It was a pilot project really in the UK, and it's kind of gained a lot of momentum. So I've been working with quite a few other European countries, Australia, but the US has also launched. It's the thing about the US, you kind of help guide them, and then they take your logo and create their own thing. So we're having to fall in line with their global brand. But yeah, absolutely. I think this idea of either building a community or just driving more engagement, as we talk about, I think people are looking for like carbon copy digital solutions, and really it's about allowing the engagement first, and then we have the tools to be able to support that engagement. Otherwise we build very complicated digital solutions which no one really uses. So I think that's the opportunity. So in other words, it is just UK and Ireland, but it is looking at rolled out sort of globally.
Fantastic. It sounds so revolutionary, but it also sounds so simple, because what you're actually saying is we listen to what the community want to tell us and we support them to talk about that.
Absolutely. We're just, I think part of the challenge we have is we're a particularly small team. We have lots of customers to support. So the more they can help each other, and we're looking at other little things like little mentoring groups, and just really facilitating that kind of concept of togetherness and support, because we used to, well, we host big medical educational conferences, and there was some element of feedback that people were just going to meet up with their colleagues more than maybe the medical education parts. And part of that was absolutely providing a networking connection with your colleagues, massively important. But do we need to host such a big, expensive medical educational event for you to deliver that? Maybe there's other solutions that they're really going for. So how do we facilitate that rather than in other ways? So yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've got a question from the audience, Nicolas. He asks, are there any other business opportunities or new business opportunities for the pharma industry that you think have arisen just due to COVID?
Any new business opportunities? Not necessarily sure within the remit of kind of Spark necessarily. I think what has risen, as you kind of mentioned earlier, that we do have, you've had a 5-fold increase in virtual product specialist calls, and these are the same kind of appointments, and the team that I have running the virtual calls are the same, were people who were in the field and now do it virtually. So I think the business opportunity for us was just, particularly over COVID, was just being there for a lot of customers. So we were largely a reactive service because a lot of these HCPs were obviously going into the NHS to work, during the COVID situation. So it was this kind of, do we make outbound calls? What's the situation with it? But actually being there and available, because a lot of these customers were very concerned about their business overheads, staff they had to furlough and other things. So for us, I think just providing a support structure as and when they needed it was really good. So I do think other pharma companies would have opportunities with remote engagement in a similar kind of way. Absolutely.
I think it's about push and pull, isn't it, as well? If you're listening, you're able to adapt to things and take those opportunities. Another question, how do you ensure that the community is open to share insights and knowledge, because there might be direct competitors within that community?
It's fine. So I think it's we'll generally stay away from any sort of product referencing ours or anyone else's. So again, when we did Spark Talks, it was open to any healthcare professional who was registered in the UK. So we didn't restrict competitor KOLs or anything like that. So where we try and stay away from that is by not talking about products any which way. So competitors can join. Honestly, I think a stronger, more educated market, the better, really.
Yeah, and I think as well, embracing that, right? So, embracing that you're actually speaking to people who might be competitors, but they might also have something that you can learn from as well, right?
Absolutely. And yeah, as I say, I think there's a lot of HCPs out in the market, and some of their product education about competitors, about ours, is still not so great, particularly when they're new into the market. So no, in my view, it's fine if they're competitor friendly or likewise.
Or not. Or not friendly. Enemies. Okay, great. You talked about 5-fold increase in appointments, which obviously is fantastic. What about typical feedback from the HCPs? What are they saying? Yeah,
absolutely. I think what people like about Spark is we've got some quotes which I can read out. It's essentially like genuine healthcare professionals with real insights into the aesthetic market with an honest approach. And I think a lot of either webinars or content coming out to companies, I think it generally is geared around more promotional. So again, just having, we're not paying for these speakers. We obviously have contracts in place, but again, they're talking on something they're really passionate about. The other things we kind of hear is good variety of topics covered within our knowledge hub and talks or content our HCPs are writing. Because I think if we sat in, as a company, if we sat in a room and write out all the topics people would be interested to hear about, we'll probably miss 80-90% of it. So again, they live the market every single day from their viewpoint, and I think it's quite nice to open up. So I think it's the variance of topics and things we cover, I think is probably some of the key insights that we get.
Yeah, I think you know, it's really interesting, and we are in a very much a virtual world, and obviously you're generating this fantastic community. So I guess a question would be, you know, do we need to go back to face to face?
I would love to say no, but I think I'll be lying. I think, yeah, absolutely. I think face to face is still really important, particularly for key account management, and Spark has face-to-face events as well, so networking face-to-face. So we have a bit of a blended approach historically, and we would do once things start unlocking a little bit more. But my question is, what needs to be delivered face-to-face? And I think basic product information and other key learnings. I think webinars like this are great, and we've all kind of been exposed to, like, we've done a digital diploma online and various different things. So I think a lot of the learnings don't need to be face-to-face anymore. So again, when we used to structure training or educational days, we would have presentations in the morning, hands-on sort of practical skills, and then followed by more sort of kind of demonstrations. And actually the morning bit and most of the afternoon bit doesn't need to be face-to-face. So can we shorten training days to online learning for most of the product and scientific education with a face-to-face approach in it, but just shortening the time?
So it comes back to what we were saying earlier in the other section of this webinar as well. It kind of, you know, asks the question again, what is best in terms of efficiency, which is really interesting. So new ways to look at things. What do the rest of the business, you know, think about your community?
Absolutely, I think it's gained a lot of momentum. Don't forget 2019, it was quite an early concept, but certainly over COVID, I think a lot of other markets are scrambling a little bit to get consents through the CRM systems and that kind of thing. Like, we've not consent hunted at all. We've got well over 2,000 people, HCP, signed up for Spark for promotional content as well. So I think the business is looking really favourable. Honestly, the numbers are competing at higher levels than our face-to-face accounts. So really, it's looking quite favourable as we're looking at other markets, and we are sort of supporting other countries and the US to kind of look at an approach like this. Obviously, every market's going to be very different. I think Spark was particularly well suited for the UK market because it's less regulated, and we have any HCP can go on a course and start injecting. So our challenges are slightly more unique, but I think a lot of the learnings can be replicated across other business units as well.
Sure, no, that makes sense. I think one of the things that I found really interesting was the, you know, ability to kind of turn what is your customer base into your team to, you know, create content for each other, which is a very clever way, really, of being able to build this community. What are your tips for anyone looking to build a community? Because I think this actually extends across so many different areas. Yeah,
I've got some key points. I think I cover them all off, and I'll cover if you need me to expand on it. But it's really about content versus cash, people versus technology, engagement versus revenue, and then progression rather than perfection. So content versus cash, I think, you know, there's opportunities to buy followings or a community, and we didn't invest in that on purpose, because actually, will they even open up any of the content that you send? So what we really was driving word of mouth referrals by delivering good content through other HCPs. People versus technology, again, you can have the best tech in the world, but again, it's really the people driving that which is really important, and the HCPs behind it as well. Engagement versus revenue, I think the revenue piece is a little bit more controversial. We try and work with having an equal opportunity. So everyone within the community has an equal footing for an opportunity to contribute, irrespective of the size of their business or influence within the market. Everyone has an equal opportunity, because the community at the end gets to decide what topics they want to see and that kind of thing. I think progression versus perfection as well. I think if we were perfectionists at Spark, I think we probably wouldn't have progressed very far. And a lot of the learnings and insight has been probably because we haven't been maybe under the pressure that large organizations have in terms of getting it right, particularly from a global. So we've almost come from a unrecognized little project and kind of grown more organically. So that's really given us an opportunity to say, let's give it a go. Let's spark talks. We've got this idea. Let's check the concept out with legal, regulatory, and compliance, just to make the point about that. And then also and give it a go, really. So we're less fearful of making, you know, a wrong move, and we learn from that and adapt as we move forward.
Yeah, I love that. And it also kind of gives a bit more of an authentic feel to it as well, which again goes back to what you were saying in terms of, you know, do we invest on just generating lots of content and then just push that all out, or do we kind of, you know, take a different stance on it? So, you know, I love those points at the end. I think they're really interesting. I
think we generally see that in other industries as well. So digital remote calling, particularly 2019, when I was looking at other solutions and trying to, you know, I was having video calls with people in Dublin about software and tech, but we've always heavily relied on face-to-face calls within pharma. So again, it's really just adapting what we've seen in other markets, but actually applying the same principles into pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think those are things that really come across everything as well. Progress versus perfection, you know, that actually get moving rather than sitting waiting for, you know, a year before you think you're ready to take this to market. So I think that's a really important message as well.
Absolutely.
Thanks very much, John.
No problem. Thank you for that.
Really interesting. You know, big thank you to all of my guests. So thank you to Danny, thank you to Guillermo as well. And you know, just great points to be brought together there. And I think really, if there was a message that I'm certainly taking away, it's around, you know, look at things in a different mindset, with a different view. Is this the right way to do it? Just because we always did it this way, is it actually the most efficient way? What are the challenges, but what are the opportunities around that? And then I just love, you know, progression versus perfection. I think I might write that somewhere on my desk. I love that. So again, a big thank you to everyone. It'll be available on YouTube for anybody who wants to be able to see it. Thanks a lot, and I wish you a very good day. Thanks a lot.